going on? Hey, Mastermind family, good to have you here. Well, we got a pretty fun surprise guest. I'd love to say surprise guest, but you guys all know because I emailed you. Before we get started today, this is our monthly live. It was called The Inner Circle for over a decade. Now it's a part of Mastermind. Welcome, everybody. I see so many familiar faces, and we have so many brand new people here. This is a part of what we call repetition, right? We all want to make, who knows you're meant for more? Raise your hand if you know you're meant for more, right? We all know we're meant for more, but just like a different language, if we don't stay engaged, if we don't stay plugged in, if we don't get reminders, if we're not pushed to take uncomfortable action, isn't it really easy to fall into old habits? At least I'm guilty of that, right? And what I love today is I've been going live. Oh my God, this is my 11th year every single month for this family. And every once in a while, we get a really awesome guest. Today, I am so excited to catch up with someone who's become a dear friend. What an awesome dude. You know, sometimes they say, do you ever hear that phrase, be careful when you meet your heroes? A lot of times they let you down. You know, I've been watching McConaughey since I was super young, and every movie came out you'd watch, and then you get to meet someone like that and you realize he's a better father, better husband, better man behind the curtain. And that's such a great surprise. And I got to tell you, for those that are new, for those of you who are brand new to the Mastermind family, welcome. There's a lot of different avenues where we want to keep you engaged every month. You get a new course every month, a new live training every month. You have AI, you got McConaughey once in a while. You get all these cool things that we do. You get Tony once in a while. You get all these great things. But really, we wanted to build something where you felt at home. A place where you could stay connected, a place where you gain new skills, where you have the repetition, where we nudge you to get out of your own way and take that opportunity instead of just waiting for the perfect moment. And that's why I think this community has grown year after year for over a decade now. So I want to say thank you for being here. I see so many family members. Thank you to everybody who trusted us and you're here new. It's going to be a great day. Before we get started, I just wanted to give you a little context for those that just jumped on with us or have been with us. And if you remember, who was a part of A Time to Thrive or a part of McConaughey's Art of Living event? Raise your hand if you're a part of the Art of Living. About half the people here. So half of you already know the story, but I'll make it real quick. I read Green Lights and I got done. I was like, damn. Who read Green Lights? Raise their hand. Right? Alexis, good seeing you. Who got done reading Green Lights or listened to it like I did, and then you were like, damn, I wish it wasn't over? I remember getting done with Green Lights saying, I want more McConaughey, right? And I called Tony, my partner and dear friend. I'm like, hey, let's do something with this guy. I'm going to try to reach out. And luckily, through a friend of a friend, we got with McConaughey. We had some great conversations. And we talked him into, extracting that knowledge and created a course that's Road Trip. So many of you, the majority of you on here are part of Road Trip. McConaughey's watching right now. If you liked Road Trip, you could let him know in the chat. Because I want to tell you, it was such an incredible journey getting to know the guy, watch his work ethic, and learn from him. We sat in the other room for one time about 5 days straight, another 3 days straight. And we got to learn and grow together. And it was a magical journey. And what I'm hoping today I want to ask some personal stuff, like maybe how does he set his New Year's up for a win and a couple other things, but then talk about this journey. And I want you to write this down before we start. This is the journey of life. At least this is what Tony and I believe. And if you're a part of this family, I believe you are the same. We must have intellectual curiosity. Isn't that true? We must always want to learn from someone who's already been there so we can follow the path. But I think this is the journey. I think we get to live it. Right? That's life. Like we live life, right? And some people stop there. Some people, after they live it, they learn from it. People who journal, people who reflect, people who look back on their past, go, wow, it didn't work so much. That's why the relationship didn't go so good or the business didn't get off. I learned from that. Or, oh my God, doing that one thing over and over again got me the success I have. They learn from patterns, right? Our own patterns. So some people just live it, and then other people, which I would bet every single person here, you wouldn't be on with somebody like me or Tony or McConaughey. You're not here just because you live it. You're also modeling patterns. Hey, when I do this, my wife's on fire. I'm going to do more of that. When I do this in my marketing, more people get a yes. I love that. Oh, when I do this, it didn't work. I got to stop or adjust. But I believe, and you know, if you know Tony and I's philosophy, there's the third one. that all of you are here for, what McConaughey evolved to, after you live it, and then you learn from it, and you have patterns, the third one is you teach it. You share it, right? You share it. Don't we all want to share with our kids the stuff that went wrong and went right? Right? I see you, Clint Myers, right? That's like, and isn't that when we get better at stuff? Hey, somebody shared this with me a long time ago, that if you ever want someone to step up, it's like talking to somebody about something, and if you just go, oh, by the way, I'm going to record this, and you put down your phone. Do you ever do that to somebody? Like, oh, wait a minute. They readjust, they rethink, they speak more articulate, right? That's just recording it. But when you document your patterns, when you share what worked and what different and you teach it, you get better. It's cathartic in some ways, and you get to transform other lives. And that's exactly what Matthew did with Green Lights, and then the work, effort, and energy he put in Road Trip. I think it's one of the greatest courses that's ever been created. I believe that. I will always believe that. Here's some cool stats. You ready for this before we bring on our guest here? And I think it'd be cool for Matthew to hear this too. 10.9 million views so far with the content we created with Matthew. 10.9 million views, almost 987,000 hours consumed. 987,000 hours consumed. We have over 10,000 people still with us monthly, every month learning and growing. It's been an amazing transformation. I'm so glad I read that book. And without further ado, could we please give it up for Mr. Matthew McConaughey? There he is.
Hey, Dean. Hey, everybody.
McConaughey, it's so good to see you, man.
Man, good to see you. I sit here and I think I said it to you last time, but your introductions, I just start getting comfortable going, wow, okay. Wow, am I doing it? It's compliments, but it's also checks. And you've already reminded me of a couple things right there. And you were just going through that, live it, learn it, then teach it. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, the teach it, the share it part. I just last night teaching the kids something. And I noticed, as you just said, when you do that, you start making a sort of a verbal contract with your that are in your circle that you got to kind of live up to as well. Or sometimes, as a parent, you talk to somebody and you go, oh, the message I'm giving them, is me the messenger actually living up to that? Oh, well, now that I kind of shared it, I can do a little better. That it puts us on cause and purpose. Anyway, thank you you reminded me that. Thank you.
Oh, good. Well, good to see you, man. Good to see you. I just want to tell you, I had so much fun doing that with you. I know it was completely out of the norm of what you typically do, but everything I said, it's not a story for our members here. So many of them are like family. They've been with us a long time. It truly was. I wanted more after Green Lights. I can't wait for you to do, I hope you do a next book. And when you do, this whole family will be behind you in a big way, man. You got tens of thousands of people that will be a huge support. But I have to tell you, I was so grateful that you shared the patterns of life. And that's really how I look at it. Like, your stories were fun as hell. They were entertaining. It made me laugh. Some of them made me think of family members, made me cry. But at the end of the day, you were really just sharing, hey, this worked and this didn't. And then you went even deeper on that in Road Trip. So I want to talk a little bit about that today. And you're so right when it comes to family. I mean, our older kids are similar age. I got 17 and 15 now. What a time that you got to sharpen up. Like, I'm trying to teach lifelong lessons. My 17-year-old daughter's got her first girlfriend, her first boyfriend, right? Like, she's like, it's serious. They're 8 months in, and I'm trying to give advice. I'm like, if I'm going to give that advice, I better be that man,
Yeah. I'm learning that now. I've now got 2 teenagers, and any of y'all parents out there may know this, but I always thought, gotta be a parent first and a friend later. Right? Don't be a friend out of the gate. They need to learn from us. But I just got sort of turned on to this new phase. It's a bridge between going from parent to friend, which is as a man, as a father, I could be a big brother to them in certain ways. And that's different than being a friend or the father. But to play in that, I never thought of being a big brother also to a teenager, because they're talking about things that it's the stuff that we went through in high school now. Whether it's birds and bees talks and things that go, it's uncomfortable. I better have a real good answer to this question. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
without a doubt. And it is that I just wrote it down. It's that big brother. And last thing, and we're talking about teenage kids. Did you ever notice you might have a 20-minute car ride and you're just having that conversation back and forth. You're dying to get to a certain thing, but if you rush it, you get nothing. If you don't ask the right way, you get, and then all of a sudden you're 18 minutes in and something snaps and they just dump it on you. And I'll be driving and I'll say to myself, wow, all right, I'm in now. Like, I got the trust, I got the true scoop. How do I not blow it by going, oh, well, I'm so glad you told me that? Or like, it's big brother. Like, I literally wrote that down. Like, I'm going to act like the big brother in those moments.
Well, that thing in the car, whether it's in a car or on a walk or doing something informal, makes it feel like more of a big brother or friend than a parent to child talk.
Yeah.
To be doing something when it's not sit down, look me in the eye, let's talk about this. You get nervous. It's like it's child to parent. So yeah, I've been in a couple of those situations where they came up with the big question right as we're about to get home, and I just kept driving.
Yeah, no, you do. You don't stop. Yeah, you can't stop at that point. Go get ice cream or something. Hey, so I put together a couple of questions. I want to talk to you about the creation of the course and how your brain and things like that. But I'd love to start with when you start a new year. This is a great time for us to be. It's the first part of January. People are setting resolutions and goals for the years. For you, and I know a lot of this just from hanging out with you and going through the course, but how do you, at this phase of your life, embrace new challenges? You know, one of the big hurdles before you even get to launch a business, start a business, write a book, build a course, do one of those things. The first thing is, man, this is just different. I feel like if I look at my own life when I was 17 and naive and didn't have enough no's under my belt and people didn't, you know, I just would maybe considered the crazy one, the rebel. I just went for it. But I could see at 55, where I am right now, that if I was starting something completely new and didn't have that history, you got so many years of following the same path, and sometimes stepping off that road is tough. But you've done so many different things in your life. Do you have a ritual, a thought process, or something that helps you with new challenges?
Well, it's funny. I would say that one of my strengths is risk taking, and I would say that one of the things I need to work on more than anything, take the right risk. You know, as we get older, through successes and failures, getting what we want and not getting what we want, we start to build a little bit of a nest. We build a past. Our highway starts to gather more lanes behind us, so we cannot be really that 15-year-old that's just like, let's do it. You know, I noticed after we first had children, I was like, what's the main thing I miss after having children? Well, I can't decide tonight that I want to go backpack to Nigeria tomorrow on a one-way ticket and come back in a month. No, I've got dependents. I've got things in my life that I've built that I need to continue to tend to, relational wise, career wise. At the same time, I don't want to sit here and revolve and look up and go, hey, let's just maintain. You know, I've heard that in relationships, and I've been told before, hey, let's do more than just maintain. Let's evolve. Let's have some ascension. Let's build. Let's take some chances together. We do have to maintain. There's certain things that we obviously can't, as we mature, say yes to, because it would sacrifice things we built. So a new opportunity comes for me, or a new idea, or someone brings something up. I have to check in on a few things that I know that are dependent on me first. To go, if I turn my back on those, can I go here? Can I take this adventure? And those would tend to themselves. More and more times I find out actually they'll be okay. Whether it was like a few weeks ago, I went away to the desert and went to go work on what I'm working on for the next book for 3 weeks, unplugged. Well, I had to do a lot of pre-production to get ready to go unplug with the people that work with me, with my family. I had to anticipate a month ahead. What am I going to possibly need to do in this month? Let me handle as much as I can now. Okay, because I'm going to go away and pull the plug, and you will not be able to contact me. I would not be able to contact you. Camilla had the kids. My business people had the business rolling. I got out. I was so nervous about re-entering. What did I miss? Turned out to be I caught up in like a day. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't miss near as much as I thought.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's one thing when you're going into resolution, we think, oh, what am I going to have to sacrifice if I take this new risk? We usually are going to have to sacrifice less than we think we will.
That's a true
Other
story.
people in our lives and things will handle themselves better than sometimes we think they will. if we take the freedom and the risk to turn our back on them and go, I'm going to pursue this.
Do you ever do any kind of like risk analysis? Like, do you have anything that you write on a piece of paper, like draw a line down the center and say, if I do and if I don't? I mean, I do that sometimes, especially, you're right. You just said something. I'm taking notes. I love this. I love these kind of conversations. I pretend I'm 12 and I'm just like, it's all fresh to me, even if I've lived it, right? But I'll tell you more at this age, I'll draw a line down the center of a page. I'll go, what if I do? What if I don't? And before I'd be like, the hell with it. I'll just do it anyway. And if it doesn't work now, you got to, if I have 4 kids and you're judging and companies. What are some of those things you ask yourself on both sides of that risk?
Here's what I'll do. I give myself, usually with big decisions, I give myself 2 weeks to make the decision. And say it's a project I'm interested in, an acting project I want to go do. And I'll go, I'm doing it. Camilla, I'm doing it. Family, get ready. We're going. Leave in 3 months. We're doing it. Over that week, I measure. Did I wake up in the middle of the night going, or did I sleep like a baby and wake up each day and go, I can't wait. I can't wait. And I'll measure that. And then after that week, I'll go the next week and go, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Camilla, we're not doing it. And we all know, they know the game now that we're playing. We're playing a game. And I'll see if living in that space, do I wake up in the middle of the night and go, no, how did I lose that? No, I got to do that. Or
that's so good. And then you feel which emotion stronger.
So I just make a commitment. It's a game, and I give myself a chance to go the next week with the opposite choice and live with it and see how you feel. See how are you checking your watch every day? Are you going, I'm nervous about that? Are you nervous for the right reasons? Are you excited and nervous? Or are you scared for the right reasons because you probably shouldn't go do that thing? What's keeping you up at night? If you can lock into that's the decision, how will it affect my future? I'm committed to it. And now I'm going to live in, I'm not committed to it. Can I let it go? Or do I feel good that I let it go? Am I sleeping better that I let it go? I knew I smelled a rat there. Oh, didn't want to do it. Probably shouldn't.
So good, because sometimes we get caught into patterns, because I guarantee there's things that you get offered today that if you got offered a decade ago would have been a yes in 3 seconds or a no in 3 seconds. And today there's different, I know what a commitment you have of being a father and being a husband and being there as much as you can in the right there. So there's different times. So I love that, because sometimes we're stuck in a hypnotic rhythm of what we wanted ages ago. If the dreams I had in my 20s came true now, I would run from them, right? So we have to check ourselves on those. And I always love putting
also down our value, the system and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the order of our values change as we go through life. I mean, as you were just saying it, my values before children were not what they are now. Had children and family, that's moved to the top. I measure things in a completely different way. When my children move out of the house, when that's going to happen, my values will change again, to what is most valuable for me and what's most valuable for Camilla and I. So I think being open to that, I don't know, is that a contradiction or is that just the evolution of life? I mean, you're not really contradicting yourself. If you'd have done something different 10 years ago, but you have a different life. You may value things differently. You may give more import to something now in your life that was number 5 on the list then, and now it's number 2.
So true. And the last part I'll stay about, and I'll go on to my next question here is, I love the one that you said, and it's a simple one, is the fear of not knowing. I think that's not the whole thing, right? But it's a variable, right? Some of those are the ones you wake up in the middle of the night, it's like, what if not knowing if that works for me or not is crazy.
Or I just gave 90%. I was afraid to go all the way, even if it meant failing or making a fool of myself. Oh, we can get over embarrassment of failing or going too far, making a fool of ourselves a lot quicker, I think, than we can get over the regret of not knowing.
Yeah.
Because some of those times when we said, no, I'm going to find out, we do pull it off. And we go, I found out. And then sometimes we don't pull it off and we kind of get past that embarrassment. Boy, the idea of I'll never know, that keeps me up. I try to keep away from I'll never know.
Yeah, I think everybody, all of you listening right now, I think you should create your own little template when you have the opportunity to go to the next level, do something your family thinks you're crazy. Anything different is crazy to others. You know, Trent, that you met, right? Trent was a part of our event. He's such a good dude. Trent said, I used to stop doing things because I would take so much of people I cared about's opinions, and that was really factored in. And he goes, but then I realized the way he thinks, he's like, God gave me this prescription. And when I put on these dreams, this prescription, it is crystal clear where I'm going. But if I give you my glasses, your friend might look at him and go, this is crazy. I can't see anything. It's like, yeah, but God gave you that prescription, not them. Why are you trying to get them to wear your glasses? And that just was such a simple analogy. That's not a part of my risk analysis anymore of what people think.
No, it's very true. And it's not necessarily a fault. It's just, I think it's hard to sometimes balance the two, because we do care. We have people in our life whose opinions we do care about, and we should. And you want someone, good friends, best friends don't really give us advice. They tell us what we already know in a way that we heard. So, thank you. They're an objective mirror for who we really are, right? But at the same time, while we have to care for others and listen and hear, all of these come down. We still have to, whatever that truth is to us at 3 a.m. alone, we got to take that into the daylight. We got to take that into the Coliseum. We got to take that into the masses and go, yep. Shine a light on our individuality there and go, I'm going to trust in that. And that's actually one of my resolutions this year, to trust myself more and have the courage to trust myself,
God,
even if it's not a popular or mainstream idea. And that it's challenging, but it comes down to us each time. All these things, it really comes down to us.
It does. And leading into that, before we get into some other questions, I'd love, is there any rituals you have in the beginning of the year? Again, I know you journal all the time, so do I. We did a whole training on journaling, which was fun. One of the most watched trainings we've done is the journal training. How cool is that, right? And what a great way to recognize patterns, right? You journal about something, you go back a few years, you're like, wow, I have 20 years worth of journals. You have a little more than that. But have you ever gone back and looked a decade ago? I know you have, I'm sure. And though you're embarrassed with some of the stuff you were thinking, at least I am.
Yeah.
I'm like, God. But other notes, I'm like, oh shit, I was the same guy back then. I just am I've improved my values, or I've rearranged some stuff, but some similar patterns come. So with all that said, I know you do this on a regular basis. Is there anything you do in January that's kind of a ritual to kick off the year?
So I'm not a big numerical, this day means new beginning.
Yep.
I'm actually feel better when I lose track of time or the calendar year. Or I forget my own birthday. I don't look at these days as a brand new start. I look at them as, let's have a celebration and look back and look forward. I try to look at like what worked. When were we happiest last year? I have to be reminded too. What were we doing? Oh, we were living in that really small house, and we were all forces of family to be on top of each other because there was only 2 bedrooms, and everyone was like, when I was trying to wash clothes and you were trying to fry eggs and I was trying to clean the sink, and we were all bumping into each other going, hey, come on, give me some room. And I remember we get kind of frustrated. Can I have my own space? Oh man, you know how many times we've laughed at the stories that we had and made over that 2 months living there? That was awesome. So what did that mean? Does that mean that we stay in a 2-bedroom house, even though we got 3 kids? No, let's go get 3 bedrooms. Kids all deserve their own bedroom if we can get them one. But let's remember that was not like it was roughing it. That was really cool. We were forced into intimacy and forced on top of each other. And let's go forward and make sure now, for instance, that if we're going to move in a new house, we're not going to get something with the kids' bedrooms too far away. Because we don't want to be that. We want to be a little, hey, come on down. We want to be that far away, but we don't want to be much further than that away. So we're learning things like that. We measured from last year. We take it into this year. That's one example for family. I'll just look back, go, what worked? What was fun? What did we get the most stories out of? That we still where did the brothers got closer? We've had my mother living with us. She just turned 92 the other day. My kids have, been seeing how we're taking care of my mom. And it hit me just recently, and we've had it for 3 years. Oh my gosh, look at the lesson my kids are getting from that. Maybe that day's going to come when
Yeah, they're taking care of dad.
and they're going to see that example, hopefully. We've been living on top of each other, but it's been great for family. And so we're taking that. That's in all of our POVs on the whole entire family this year going forward, that we don't want to lose.
I love that. And I love the fact, that's why I said I was guessing, only because I know the way you journal and how you reflect on a regular basis. You know, I would take that New Year's practice or whatever you guys have. And we did a big New Year's training a couple weeks ago, or last week, and integrate some of that into a monthly or even a weekly practice, just smaller little measurements, right? Instead of waiting for that big thing. Like one of the things I shared is look back on what worked. And with my kids, you know what I made them do? It's the first time I ever made them do it. And it sounded like I did it every year, and I actually did it with them, Matthew. And I said, if you can't remember all the good, just scroll through your pictures for a year. It'll remind you of that. Oh, I was, McConaughey and I were in there when we did that one. Oh, I forgot about that. And I forgot about my kids. And oh my God, I went skiing with my son, and our conversations on the lift on the way up to the top of the mountain were, so the pictures, so I told them, they're like, Dad, they said, Dad, that's so smart. And I wanted to act like I had done it forever. I'm like, I just tell you that works. Right? But,
you're so right on. I've never made that a ritual either, but we did that this year. And what happened was I was trying to find a picture for my daughter's birthday, just to put out one picture. And as I went through my years of the pictures I had hearted, there were like 4,000 pics. I all of a sudden found, there's another one. There's another one. Boom, send it to family, send it to family, send it to family. After I'd gone through and got up to the date of January 3rd, I had just I'd messaged 112 pictures to the family. They were over the year.
They're like,
and
Dad's
we all
on a tear.
came back together, and that night was all about stories of stuff. Oh, I forgot when we did this. And then we were like, that was all this year. It was a very good and easy way to have a look back. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what I liked what you said down is I didn't, where did the most, I don't know if you guys heard this, and I want to just, because I'm just telling you where I'm taking notes. You said, where did most of the stories come from? Like, that's sometimes, we look at where was the most success? Where was my most growth? What did I learn the most? Like, that's kind of the stuff we're programmed to think about. But it's like, what was the stuff that made us laugh, made us joke around, made me feel light, made me look in the mirror and go, hey, I'm okay with you this moment, this week, this month, right? It's like, that is something I'm putting on my list. It's like, where did the stories, where did the joy come from? Not just the success.
And there's plenty of times to go back to half backhanded answer one of your earlier questions about how do we know when to take a risk. There's plenty of times I know I have been in a situation that I'm like, I don't see a way out of this, and this is going to suck. But since I got to do it, this is at least going to be a good story. It's a default sort of cushion, but times when we're stuck and like, I can't get out of this, to just remind ourselves, well, you know what? There will be a day where I will be telling the story, or someone will be telling on me, and we will be laughing, and I will be going, yep, that was me. And somehow it just pops the balloon of the pressure, and we have a little bit more courage to go dance through that hardship, just to be reminding ourselves that, it'll pass. And when it passes, it's going to be a damn good story.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about the first time I read Greenlights is you got these, I can't wait for what you're creating next, because you got those trainings inside of a cool story. Like you fighting in Africa, right? Like you said, I couldn't see myself not knowing what that would be. You made a lifelong friend who walked you to the next village. But what a great story of like, that is such an easy thing. I think I shared that story literally yesterday, the day before, when I knew we were coming. Somebody said, what was one of your favorite stories? It's like the fear of not knowing, right?
Yeah, I actually remember in that moment when I accepted that challenge to that wrestling match, one of the things that went through my head as I was going, no, in this year was going, buddy, this will at least be a great story. I'm like, hey, I admit it. Sometimes I'm vain enough, and I think it's okay to be vain enough to go, it'll at least be a damn good story. You know?
Did you think you had any shot?
I was pretty confident in my wrestling abilities because I had two older brothers who I had to try my best to handle. But if you just seen this guy that challenged me and his legs were like tree trunks, I was going, oh man, this might really hurt.
But then you said, didn't he walk you the next day or so to the next village?
No, so the next day we finished the match, and I had done all right in the match. And the next morning, as I was leaving on a 15-mile hike to the next village, waiting for me behind a tree on the trail, the dirt trail, just outside the village, was the man, Michelle, who I had wrestled the night before. He didn't say a word. He looked, gave me a little bow. I bowed back. He put his hand out. He held my hand and walked me 15 miles to the next village.
Wow.
Turned around, bowed, walked home. And get this part. I go back 6 years later, unannounced. He's in the village. He's had 4 kids since I've been gone, and he broke his hip. So no wrestling match this day. But the next morning, as we left camp to walk that same 15 miles that I'd done 6 years before, there, waiting behind a tree, with a bow on a hand and a big limp because his hip was broke, was Michelle, who held my hand and walked me 15 miles.
Wow. It's just such a great story. You know, some of you, you don't have that adventure, but how many of us have that thing we know we've been dying to do? Put it in the chat if there's that thing you've been dying to do, but there's something that holds you back. Timing, age, a story, right? You see, it's such a great little synopsis of you don't know what's on the other side of it sometimes. And if it's not going to rob your life, if it's not going to drown you, it's not going to ruin your family, man, I think that's one of the, the pure things that equate to joy in life.
Yeah, and I want to bring up another thing that I was been recently reminded of is so many of these things that we want to do. We have a plan of when we're going to start them. And we get busy, life starts happening, our old life is happening, and we punt it. No, that's not good. Push it, maybe in the spring. You know, if it ain't good right now, it ain't going, you'll be busy in the spring too. And so you get to the spring and your life's even busier. So let's punt it to the summer. Dang it. Too full, busy again. Let's punt it to the fall. Let's punt it to the winter. And all of a sudden years go by and we keep punting it. So if you can find that gap to go now, especially in New Year, to go, no, now I'm not punting it. I'm going to put it up there as my highest value and I'm going to commit to it. And it's never a good time.
Right. It's like there's never a perfect time to have children. Like, right? But it's the greatest gift in the world.
Yeah, it's never a good time. And we project forward about, I'll make time later. No, we very seldom do. I find if we don't do it that first time, it just all of a sudden you look up a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you look and you go, oh, I'm in the same place because I didn't do it right then when I had the chance 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, so good. Well, thank you for sharing that. So I want to talk a little bit about the journey of creating, right? We talk about you live it, then you learn from the patterns, and then that next evolution, I believe, is teach it. Now, you wrote an amazing book. You built a course that became one of the best-selling courses ever. I think we sold 35,000 people said yes in a week. And I want to tell you what, I'm going to make sure my team sends you. You can't believe the breakthroughs, McConaughey. I'm not sure you get a chance as much as we get to see of how many lives have been changed by what you created. I mean, it's not little. It's tens of thousands of people that are deeply moved by what you created. And now, hopefully, you're writing that next book that we all get to enjoy. Can't wait for it and all that. On your third book, it's probably, not third book, your third thing, your third creation of sharing, right, of teaching. It's probably a little easier. You have a little more confidence that, hey, my life and my experiences are actually valuable to others. Holy shit, right? Some people are like, who knew? Like, if you go back to when you first were writing your book, you've had so much success in so many areas of your life, including a parent, a husband, actor, philanthropist, businesses, so many great things. But still, I'm sure you felt a little bit like so many of our people feel when it's time to create that first thing based on their expertise. It's like, will anybody listen? And does anybody give a shit? Did you feel that way?
Hell yeah. I was, look, I had been, that first book was a amalgamation of my journaling from over 40 years. I was trying to pass the buck and go, hey, when I die, will you be the one that goes through my stuff and sees if there's anything worth sharing? And then Camilla and I get married, and she's the closest one in my life, and I brought it up to her.
She's like, I'm not doing that.
when I die, I got these 3 treasure chests full of journals. You go through there, and she was like, "Hell no, you do it." And she called me out, and she was like, "Find out. You go do it." And go and I am one. I've never been a fan or had the courage to really look at my past. I'm always like, present, move forward, knock it down. You come tell me what happened in the past. I'm trying to blaze forward. And I was forced to look into my past. And I knew I was going to have, as I said in the book, and as we talked about, things that I was embarrassed about, things that I was ashamed of, things that I'm like, oh my gosh, who was I? And I had hundreds of those. And then I also, after I got over a little bit of guilt and a little bit of shame, kind of started to, there were enough of them. I started to kind of mixed with some things. I was like, hey, this is really cool. This was a success. There's enough of them that I started, the next one I get to, I'd kind of like giggle at myself and go, did it again. Stuck your foot in your mouth again. Thought you knew it all again, and you didn't. And so it became humorous. And I started to notice, oh, this is not necessarily a pattern. It's just life. That's all. Those are all part of it. But those, when we fall down to those failures, like I said, we think those are exponentially larger and more, the world sees them and can feel them much more than when we succeed or get what we want. I mean, I do it all the time. When I succeed, I think like, oh, that's how it's supposed to. And then when I fail, I'm like, oh my God, it's a big deal. Like the failure feels worse than the success feels good.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about being pomp and circumstance and standing up going, hey, every time we succeed, go look at me. But take time to pat ourselves on the back and thank those around us that helped us and go, yeah, let's have a little celebration, because that wasn't guaranteed, that success. And we're going to have some more. It's not just how it is. We're going to fail again here, but let's laugh through those and try and improve and see if we can have less of them. But yeah, it was very scary. And so I got to it. I started writing it. I then started to write like I wanted to impress people. And I noticed after a week of writing, I was like, oh, I was reading it myself going, very impressive, Matthew. And then all of a sudden I was like, but it's kind of BS. You're posturing. You're writing to try and be impressive. And you're not telling as good of a story. You're not telling as good of a truth. And so I ripped all that up and started to say, look, just go what really means something to me, and can it be told in a way that people can still access it? That yes, it's my story and my experience, but it's about the human condition. And when I started doing that, then it became hard, but it became a joy. And then I started to share some of those stories. People were going like, oh, I saw myself in that story and it helped me this way. And I was like, oh, here we go. Now it's translating. Now I'm not talking about just, yeah, it's a personal experience I'm talking about, but we're talking about the human condition. And I'm communicating on a level where people are going, yeah, me too. Me too. And they're seeing me and going, oh, you too? You as well? I'm going, yeah. And that's when art gets really fun, and art is really vital, and creation and sharing it. And like it did in the first book, became like, it's translating on a human level. And I'm getting as much back, if not more, than I was giving out. That reciprocity boomeranged right back to me. And what I put out, responses from other people, became still to this day my mirror that they're giving back to me. And sometimes it's exactly what I think it looked like, and sometimes it's like, oh, nope, I don't look that way. I thought I did. You know what I mean? Thank you for calling me out.
And this, we teach something called Story Teach Tool, and I just came up with the concept because a lot of people are dying to do something different. I mean, how cool is it? I wrote down the word addicting. Tell me it's not addicting when you could just give someone a little bit of a shortcut because of your life experience. Like I watched you as we were sitting here, as the comments were coming in during the day of doing our big live event that we did, and the people are coming in saying thank you. And that the byproduct of sharing an experience where you failed, where you succeeded, right? It might be a gentleman that was an accountant for 25 years, and now he's teaching young accountants not to make all the mistakes he made and pick the wrong partner and all the things he's done, right? When people really get through the fear and realize that their life experience is beyond valuable to someone, right? My life experience is not valuable to everyone. Hopefully it is to the people that are watching today and that follow me or you or Tony and that kind, but it's not valuable to everybody. And if a doctor is teaching how to be better at what he does, that's not valuable to everybody. but it's valuable to a group of people that are going to either figure it out on their own through trial and error, or they're going to go so far that they quit because it got too complicated. And if you've been through the journey, right? I mean, I've used that analogy. If you're, and I always use, go down to the rainforest, on the other side of a 20-mile stretch of the jungle is your version of paradise, whatever that is. And they could say, hey, it's on that side. You either could just run in the jungle and, I don't know, go into quicksand or get bit by a spider or a snake. But if there's a guy sitting over there and said, yeah, I've been in this jungle for 25 years. I got a map for 25 bucks, right? It's like, get the map so you can get there quicker. And when you start looking through that lens, everyone on here should realize that your life experience is priceless. It's beyond valuable in your niche. And the last thing I was going to share is, if you start feeling that addiction of impacting lives, what we came up with something was called Story, Teach, Tool, like I mentioned, because we all have a story. Like if you think of your story going to Africa and saying yes, that was the story. And then you taught us something. In the middle of that, it's like, wow, the other side of that was this. And a lot of times, like we did in the course road trip, then you give them an action step, right? And did you feel that pattern without even knowing? I mean, that's how you wrote Green Lights. That's how it's like. Well,
you look, the story and here's my experience and now I'm sharing it. I understood that. What you helped me a lot with road trip was that action call. Let me call you out for some follow through to stick to itness or whatever that is, or coming back now a year later and saying, hey, let's go. This is everything's just a comma. Let's stay on it. You don't just grab it, put it away. Let's staying on it, that map. And I learned a lot about calling it about action calls from you and your team that I did not know or was not comfortable with. And look, I mean, advice is a tricky thing because how it's given, it's tricky how it's given and how it's received. And no one likes to be told what to do. But that's very different than, hey, here's a map. Yeah. I've been down that path you're on. And I know for me, there's maps I've turned down that were good counsel that I turned down because I had too much ego to think, no, man, I'm not going down your path. I'll find my own. And I regret a lot of them because I didn't learn till later in life that, oh, just because someone can give me a map to help me navigate where I'm trying to go because they've been down that path before, I'm still the one going down the path. You're each individually, it's still your journey. You just got a few secrets on, hey, here's a shortcut.
Yeah.
Or here's where the road's not under construction that GPS isn't telling you about. You know, so it's still yours.
Yeah.
And you know, I in that way of saying I always like to go forward and not go back. It's just in the last 10 years I've learned that actually to go back sometimes, even though it's down the same path you've come back, you're seeing you're seeing the backside of where you came from.
Yeah.
It's
so good. You know, and thank you for sharing that. I appreciate the words of helping see the action steps because it helps anchor it in, right? And you did so well. I want to talk a minute. The favorite, we knew it was going to be a favorite, is everybody writing their own eulogy. That was the most comments came for. That's a big one, right? But I want to tell you what I learned from you. Not only do you have an incredible work ethic, that's why I think we got along so well. Our work ethic, when we're committed to something, we're getting it done. Doesn't mean you have to work those hours every day, 7 days a week, but when we were committed to something, and it was easy for us to work together. But 3 things was the royal we. You never gave advice in a way, hey, this is how I did, this is what you should do. Even without realizing, you always came with, hey, this is the way it worked for me, and this is the way it failed for me. Hey, you might want to try it this way. That's not your exact words, but I think that's why people fell in love with it. You're never like, hey, don't be silly. This is the way to go. It's more like, hey. And the last one was me too, right? I picture you saying like, and those things, and I want everybody to hear as you create, so many times you're thinking you have to have it right. I mean, if you got through a divorce and you're on the other side and you're dear friends with your ex and your kids are thriving and people are struggling and you got a path, you don't have to say, hey, you're screwing up your kids, you should do it this way. Just say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm on the other side, friends with my ex, my kids are thriving and I found my own soul. This is the way I did it. I'd love to show you how that went. It's a different feel and it takes some of the pressure off.
It takes a lot of the pressure off. Again, just to be reminded that we're all in this big experiment called life, and it's part of the human condition. And when things are going wrong, how do we all feel? We feel like the world is revolving around us and we're the only ones feeling that way. And it's just not true. We're having our own original experience, but it's a common denominator that the masses go, me too. I've been there in that situation. And just to hear that takes so much pressure off and actually allows us to then have much more courage to take action and follow through. Because when we think it's only our problem and it's a mountain that we cannot climb, it's compressing, it's depressing, it knocks us down, it's too much weight. It's a fight I can't fight. And a lot of times that's a creation. We've made that boogeyman into that monster in our own mind. And it's not, when we look it in the eye, that it always seems to get smaller or suddenly go back, just for the fact that you're looking it in the eye and going, I'm not going to let you pin me down to the ground here. And then if you find out it's a trick that happens to us. We find out that a lot of these problems sometimes are a bit of a ruse. They're hidden behind the wizard's curtain. And when you look them in the eye, they go, oh, I thought I had you down. I thought you were going to tap out. I thought you were going to say no more. I thought you were going to go ahead and do that thing that feed your bad wolf some more, and they go, you find out they're a lot of times they're more of a facade than we give them credit for being. Sometimes we give our crisis more credit than we should, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah. Sometimes the crisis is massive and it's real and it's hardcore and it seems like it won't end. It's day to day, hour to hour, week to week. What is this penance I'm going through? That needs a lot of endurance, but also a lot of other people going, me too. Here's how I endured that. Can you get up one more day and try it out and believe that this too shall pass? It's two things, but they're the same part of the royal we, and people going, yeah, me too.
Yeah. I'd say one of the best parts of what we did together. I remember we were sitting here. I'm in the studio here today, and we were sitting here when it was all done. I don't know if you remember. You and I were sitting at that table, and I said, "What'd you think?" And you said, "One of the funnest things I've done." And I said, I might be paraphrasing. I said, "Why?" And you said something that always will stick with me. You said something along the lines of, "People got to know me. Like I got to serve people with just my stuff, like no filter, no lens." You said it in your own words, but basically said it was one of my funnest moments because I got to help people by just being me. You remember that?
I do remember that. It was, again, that reciprocity of being there and then the thousands of people on the screen coming in and live chatting. It was an immediate connection. And what I was sharing was coming back in a response. And we just kept dancing and kept going on. And I was building momentum and my heart was getting bigger and larger as we went on. And as the conversation matured between me and everyone who was talking, and the fact that we had gone and worked so hard to prepare that in the way it was presented, a lot of preparation, what the actual text and the message was going to be, a lot. But to have that and then package them in this certain amount of diatribes and sort of shared sermons and things that I've learned along the way, and everyone felt complete. And then to go on the journey, and we put them in that order for a certain reason, and then where the journey went that we took, it was in that order for very specific reason. How we started it, where we're in the middle, and how we are at the end. And so I got to go on the ride that day doing it live. And then even now, come back this many months later, hopping back in, checking on the road trip. This is, again, it's to go that there wasn't a period after it was done. It's like a comma. We're still in the same story and we're talking about it again, checking in. How's the tires? How's the tank? How's the weather? How's the drive been? In the left lane, in the right lane, in the middle lane.
Yeah, and one other thing, no, exactly. And one other thing you said, and I think it relates to everyone. Yours is acting. You're a public figure, but each of us have that expertise. Each of the, there's thousands and thousands of people live with us right now, and tens of thousands will watch this in the next couple of days as replay. Each of us have our own expertise, right?
Right.
And sometimes
each of us are actually the expert on ourselves more than anybody else in the world.
Exactly. And you said something else. You said usually people see me through a filter, right? Someone else writes the script, someone else directs it, and someone else edits it. Did I nail all three of them? Yeah.
Yep.
But I have to say, it can probably be a little scary when there's no filter and rewarding, right? It's like I could say, hey, it was a badly written or produced movie, but this is you. And I think that's sometimes where people get a little afraid when simultaneously the reward on the other side is so big.
Yes, but let me say this, and I think this goes to why we're all here and interesting in improving our own life's existence and sense of satisfaction on whatever those measures are. No filter, doing this, doing that show. It was live. No take two. That's our life. Action was called the day we were born. Cut's gonna be called the day we die. I mean, it's our one take. Yeah, we get do-overs, but it's still part of the same one take. The camera never quit rolling, doesn't quit rolling. So that can be like, oh my gosh, how scary. But at the same time, it also is like freeing. If you're like, all I got is one take in life, it's like, oh, okay, then let's get it on. It's a freedom that comes out of that. At the same time, it's a scary notion. And that immediate communication and immediate response is the reward in itself, without being able to have 4 filters that we all hide behind in our lives. Not just me in the movies, what Dean was talking about, someone else's script, someone else directing, and someone else behind the camera, and then someone else editing. There's 4 filters my raw performance has gotten to before it's packaged and a year later comes out on a beautiful screen. Great. That's not life. We don't get to pack. We don't get to go through 4 filters, package it all up, and then say, I'll get back to you in a year with how exactly I want to come across. It's live. We're in it. It's live, and that's scary and so exciting at the same time. And so I really appreciate is as immediate and transparent of a communicating relationship with life and with people and with ourselves. That's who we really got to have the immediate and transparent relationship. The crap we deny, guilty, deny all the time. Put it in the bottom drawer. Put it behind all that stuff. I'll get to that later. No, I don't get to that. No, I don't like that side. I don't like that. Let me get a new mirror. Let me get a new mattress. I'm not sleeping well. Let me get a new mirror. I don't like the way I'm looking. It's usually not the mirror or the mattress's fault. It's usually us. The old story of we go places in life and ones we enjoy, ones we don't enjoy. The ones we don't enjoy, most of the time, was about where we were in our life, how we were seen. Because I love doing this. If you go someplace that you don't enjoy, or you go someplace and you don't quite behave or get out of it what you wanted, and you come away feeling like, I missed the mark last night, I failed. Get back on the horse and go back and do take 2, which is in the same take, but do your do-over. Go back to where you failed and go back to that town, go back to that relationship, go back and go, I'm going to do it again and give myself a second chance to come out of this where I go, that's how I wanted to perform. That's what I'm talking about. Because we leave those back. Oh, I didn't like that place. You see it, people, we run from ourselves all the time. Me too. We get a house. People that can get what they want. You see it all the time. I see it all the time. People who can get what they want, have a great house. Then they go get a getaway house. Next year, they're getting a getaway from the getaway house. The year after that, they're getting a getaway from the getaway from the getaway house. They keep getting away. And we just keep running. Now, whether it's a house or whether it's a relationship or a part of our own psyche and makeup, that we got to quit running from, because it'll all catch up. And let's just call it. Say, buck stops here. You're tired of that. It's not feeding me. Damn it. I'm going to create a new habit. I'm going to stop that thing. Or I'm going to catch myself every time my mind starts going down that track. and ends up in a negative. No, I'm catching myself. I don't like where that ends up, and it ain't ever served me. I'm tired of it. Some things we just got to get, I have to remind myself, just get sick and tired of it enough to go, I'm not going to give you the time of day anymore. Cut it out, McConaughey. I got to do that with myself all the time. And I think it's just to call that, to admit that with ourselves is a really good first step, or because and just to admit that if you don't, it's going to rear its head again and again. So try and nip it, clip it in the knees.
Yeah, one of the things I love that you did through the entire course is looking in the mirror and having that conversation with you. I love when you said, the person you're definitely going to sleep with every single night for the rest of your life is you. The person you're going to wake up to every single night, every single morning for the rest of your life is you. And recognizing those patterns are just such a crucial thing, because if the pattern you have, we all have patterns. Just some of us have patterns, including me, that don't serve you, and you got to recognize them. That's what you're talking about, is recognizing what's not working and have the courage to say, hey, that's not serving the people we want to become.
Right. And sometimes it's getting sick and tired of it. Sometimes it's grace and forgiving ourselves, or forgiving another who's, because we're so mad at them, our life has been poisoned. And man, we might need to find the grace and the forgiveness in others, and especially ourselves, to go, that's how we can move. I got to give myself some grace. Man, I've been a repeat offender, guilty. And I'm tired of that, but I'm going to give myself some grace to forgive myself. That sometimes is what gives us the courage and the freedom to go, I'm free from that. Okay, now I can take a new step forward.
Yeah. So good. What I loved about today, and it was so good catching up with you, Matthew. What I love about today is no matter where you are in this journey of growth, you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be a part of this family if you don't want to grow, if you don't want to be stretched, if you don't want to learn something different. So I commend all of you guys. You all enjoy intellectual curiosity or growth or learning things that can move the needle. I see Teresa and Tammy and Diane and Carolyn. So great to see all your faces. But we all know that. Most people ignore it, though. Like you said, kicking the can, putting it off. It's uncomfortable. I always call it uncomfortable action, because to move and do something different, or to shift, or to end something bad, or to start something new, it's uncomfortable. But usually isn't our next level of life always on the other side of the thing we've been putting off, or uncomfortable? It typically always is. And what I love today, Matthew, is as always, in a humble way, sharing that journey. Like, I love that you shared that you were scared to death before. Like, no one would think McConaughey was scared to write green lights. Are you kidding? But still, it's a whole new world. It was something different. And then, like you said, there was no filter. If the book sold 10 copies, it's on you. You can't say, well, it was a bad director. Right?
No, right, exactly.
Right? So we all find that fear. We all have that fear of something new. We all feel uncertainty at certain levels, but usually when we push through it, and why being a part of a group like this, it helps support you, help you see you're not alone, helps you see that on this journey to fulfilling your full potential, we got some hiccups.
And I want to add this. For instance, with the book, if it only sold 10 copies, would that have hurt me? Yeah. But what it could have never done, and I've said, and this has been, I've understood this through movies I've made that absolutely tanked. The experience I had, and mine, that was a win. The experience I had. So we got to watch, don't get hooked onto that result being the only affirmation of whether it was worth doing or not. There's a whole lot of things we do that you go, I know, I hope it just won the box office. I hope it succeeds. I hope she says yes. I hope I get this job. But the experience of what we do to try and make it work, that's always ours. Nobody can take that. And that's a victory.
What an amazing way to end this hour we've been together. It's so true. It's the experience. And those experiences tend to lead to success no matter what. Because if the book wasn't a bestseller and your experience was amazing, you would have taken what you learned from it, and the second one would have been better, bigger, stronger, faster. And I just want to share each of you in this journey of living it, then learn from it, then share it. We hope to help all of you guys share, write a book, create a course, do something. But even if it's just sharing with those you love, you got to understand your life experience is beyond valuable to somebody who needs it. and learning how to share that. And the last thing I'll say too is, I had a lot of those last things, but last thing, watching Matthew work and go through the course, every single part of it was, oh, wait a minute, did we put that one first, or should this one go here? And did it really land, or was it too high level? And what that does when you go through your version of creating something you want to share or teach, it makes you even refine your own lessons. Like even when we were together, I was learning stuff looking through your lens and go, I never looked at it that way. And I remember you stopped 10 times and go, wow, I did it that way, but I think I should switch it. I think I should have thought this way before that way. It would have been a lot easier in life. And you will have breakthrough experiences while you're creating something for other people. Matthew, I want to say thank you so much, man. This was such a blast hanging out with you again. I wish you the best with your family.
Hey, everybody, happy 2024. It's most likely going to be rocky. Let's rock and roll right through it. And thank you, Dean. Thanks for having me. Thanks everybody for being here and giving me time to chat with y'all and Dean, and let's rock.
I appreciate you, McConaughey. Give McConaughey some love in the chat. He can see it. See you next time. And to everybody, thank you for being a part of Mastermind. Thank you for being part of our monthly training. We'll see you next month. Take care.